I think, I think a lot of the time, if I think about it, I think a lot of the time I'm really pretty unhappy.
What are you saying?
I don't know. I love you, I do. I wonder if the sad I'd be without you would be less than the sad I get from being with you.
In succession, our solar system is the Roy family, with Logan acting as the sun that everything orbits around. As an audience, we experience both the world our characters inhabit and the family within it through the characters and their proximity to power, their proximity to Logan Roy. Everyone, in some form or another, is doing whatever they can to inch closer to Logan throughout the show, whether that be through money, business, power, parties, relationships, intimidation, backstabbing, or family. All of them are just a ploy to move one rung higher on the ladder, or, at the very least, to be noticed by the big man himself. Your favorite Succession character reveals a lot about you, and the reason they're your favorite reveals potentially even more. I'm seeing lots of love online for Kendall, which I totally understand, because he's up there as one of the most entertaining, cringe-inducing, painfully sympathetic assholes in the history of television. But then you can run through the rest of the Roys. There's Roman, Shiv, Logan. Even Connor has been getting his praises since the show's conclusion.
Oh, the conheads are loving this.
But my favorite character, who has one of the most dynamic and interesting relationships to Logan, is Tom Wambsgans.
Buckle up, fucklehead.
Tom falls somewhere on the audience surrogate spectrum between the Roy siblings, who are literally in the family, and Greg, who is made to feel and act as more of an outsider than even we as the viewer are. Early on, you get hints at his background. He's from the Midwest, he's raised in a more than decent family upbringing, but he also still has enough of a connection to the real world that he feels infinitely more grounded and down to earth than the Roys ever could.
How much is a gallon of milk?
What?
How much is a gallon of milk?
I don't know.
We're introduced to him as Shiv's boyfriend, and his role as somewhat of a family punching bag is established pretty early. They don't really respect him, but he's also not enough of a nuisance or threat for anyone to really step in and intervene on the relationship. Tom is docile, he's placating, and he's willing to take whatever jabs are sent his way and to do or say whatever to stay in the good graces of those around him. He's the ultimate people pleaser. He also immediately latches on to Greg in this sort of close friend yet bully dynamic, and even though it evolves further, early on this makes a lot of sense because Greg is typically the only one around who holds less social capital and is lower on the totem pole than even he is. While he's never outright cruel to Greg, he keeps Greg under his thumb with these constant jokes, he belittles him, he uses manipulative language, and he also abuses Greg's lack of agency and familiarity in this new Roy world that he's wormed his way into. Situations like the first family reunion are perfect for this, where Tom extends himself to Greg by saying,
Need any help?
Before following it up with a very serious sounding,
Just, don't fucking bother.
and then letting the tension linger just long enough for Greg to question the degree to which he may or may not be kidding. Everything I've laid out so far may give off the impression that Tom would be unlikable, pitiful, or kind of unbearable to watch, but he has this magnetism and affability that is really lent to the character through a pitch-perfect performance by Matthew Macfadyen. He somehow embodies all the nuances and multitudes of a man both at ease with who he is and also really uncomfortable with the world he's in. He leaves this gray area about how Tom really feels towards Shiv. Is it all love? How much of it is just a pursuit to move up the social ladder? You could reasonably argue that it lies anywhere on that spectrum between the two, and there are parts of Macfadyen's performance that would support either one. But Tom isn't just a submissive shell who the characters walk all over. He has these moments of truly incisive strategy and awareness that show that he's more tuned in than we're led to believe. In Game of Thrones, plenty of praise is thrown the way of Varys and Littlefinger for their wit, vision, and ability to execute on their plots. because everyone either loves or respects the intuition and grit that allows someone to play and win the Game of Thrones through intellect and guile alone. But I find myself watching Succession even more impressed by a character like Tom. Because of the reality that the characters are in, his feats don't have to be as theatrical or high concept as someone like Varys, but they're subtle.
And I don't mean to be insulting, but having been around a bit, my hunch is that you're going to get fucked. Because I've seen you get fucked a lot. And I've never seen Logan get fucked once.
Many shows struggle with this flanderization of their characters, or they have to perpetually raise the stakes over and over the seasons, which slowly lead to more melodrama and this loosening grasp of reality, or an inconsistency with how the characters act and how people react to them. But Tom grows and changes in a way that's expected. He remains truly the kind of man who could navigate the shark-infested world of boardrooms and shareholders and layoffs and news scandals, but he keeps his signature charm and understated approach throughout. He's not trying to be a supervillain, a martyr, a visionary, the one with all the attention, and he doesn't want to be the guy with the big idea. He just wants to survive, and maybe, along the way, he'll form a few connections and use those to his advantage. That's Tom on the surface, but it goes even deeper than that. One of my favorite observations about Tom is that he's always moving in sort of an idle yet anxious way. If you pay specific attention to his hands, legs, or eyes during conversational scenes, you'll notice how much he fidgets, or how he does these quick, nervous behaviors like adjusting a fork, smoothing a tablecloth, checking a menu, or something similar. It's subtle, but it really builds towards a complete human being. His evolution is impressive too. While always consistent, McFadden seems to grow more comfortable in Tom's skin as he becomes more sure of himself, and along with also having been acquainted with Tom as a character for many, many years as the show progresses. He begins to speak in his typical supportive way, but it feels like more of a facade or a tactic where it's used to position himself where he wants to in the room or within a conversation, rather than him doing it as a crutch because he's being bullied or he's uncomfortable. But it's also not entirely fake or put on. It shows that he retains his humanity too, which highlighted in moments like the wedding, where it's a genuine moment of stress, sadness, and grief, but Tom is able to remain level-headed. During the phone call, he remains calm, comforting, and patient, but not in like a disconnected, I'm a rich person who doesn't know how to emote properly way, but in a human way. He knows he isn't on the best terms with Shiv, he isn't really that close with Kendall or Roman, and he knows that this is not at all how they want to be finding out this news. But he speaks with empathy, with patience, and an understanding that many of the other characters only know how to emulate or imitate, but they don't actually portray authentically. I could talk about Tom forever, so instead, I want to talk through some of my favorite scenes and how they characterize Tom and his journey through the seasons, and also highlight the world-class performance that McFadden is giving.
Senator Evis, you have 5 minutes for questions.
Mr. Wambsgans, I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Oh God, the show is good. Okay, let's dive in. So I could do a whole video about the camera work, the editing, the perspective, and the way Succession is shot. In fact, I've watched some really great video essays about that very subject, and I suggest you all watch them if you haven't already. But here, we're talking about Tom. So this scene comes around the midpoint of season 2, and it also faces Tom with the most significant and difficult obstacle of his career thus far. Being on trial is stressful for anyone, but it's even worse when you're absolutely guilty, you know that you're guilty, and now you have to corporate speak your way out of it. But I also am not going to let the others off the hook. Logan, Kendall, Shiv, Hugo, they all sit behind the doors, watching on a monitor, and yeah, they'll nod and give their disapproving or incredulous looks at Tom floundering. But they're also more than happy to let him be the bullet monkey and make himself look like a fool, or worse, incriminate himself if that means that they get off scot-free. It's times like these that it becomes really apparent that everyone is out for themselves, and the only reason that they would ever celebrate a Tom victory is because that's a victory for them too. But that being said, Tom also shits the bed. McFadden is so excellent at doing his interpretation of the most anxious man you've ever seen in your life trying to act relaxed. He just oozes this nervous energy, and it's like the room picks up on that fact, and you can feel the walls closing in. Senator Evis is direct, he's confrontational, and he doesn't let Tom worm out of answering questions.
Mr. Lester McClintock, you accept he offered jobs to young women who would sleep with him.
When Tom tries to deflect and immediately go to what his plan A is, blame the previous head of cruises, Senator Evis powers through it and puts Tom even more on the back foot.
However, Bill,
Lockhart, my predecessor.
But within the upper echelons of the firm and the
Whether or not it was his fault isn't important because he knows the game of these people and that pointing the finger at someone else is always a viable strategy, but it's never going to lead to any kind of accountability. But Tom also, I'll give him credit, doesn't blow up or lose his cool. He kind of remains the same level of embarrassingly fake relaxed regardless of how rough things are going. It's interesting. His answers get worse too. They get more obfuscative and they become more like the tells of someone lying as things go on, because he is. His initial answer to whether he knows Greg is a definitive
No, sorry.
No?
No? No, Tom?
which is absolutely a lie. But at least it's a single word and is assertive about the answer. But when that lie is immediately retracted, he's lost some of his cool. His next answers become super vague and corporate speaky.
I knew of him, but no, I know him and his face. Not that I'm conscious of. Senator, I use a variety of target-oriented incentives to enhance optimal performance.
And these are just essentially word vomit that mean nothing. So Tom is smart and savvy enough to know it's going poorly, and to know that outright lying would be infinitely worse than just doing his best not to lie while dancing around the truth, even if it makes him look like a fool. So, even though it's cringeworthy, he does the best thing he can do on the fly in the most Tom way that he can. It's funny because it almost puts you at ease. Even though you're cringing, you think, well, that's about as badly as it could have gone, and Tom is still able to choke out a laugh at the Mo Lester joke, or the most iconic line in the show.
You can't make a Tomlette without breaking some Gregs.
But in the same way, that's Tom's entire identity is balancing between recognition of his flaws and delusion that everything is fine. This court scene is just a microcosm of that identity. So regardless of how bad it goes or how much better it could have gone, he stays comfortable in that state where now he has to kind of delusionally act like it was all fine. He even goes as far later on to rationalize that it was going poorly and that was a good thing, by saying that he was so bad that he soaked up all that bad attention and he honestly did the entire family a service and should be rewarded for it. And though no one would ever admit it to his face, he might even be right, because it did make everyone else look less guilty in comparison, even if it was the company at stake, not specific individuals.
If I was to give Tom a letter grade, I'd give him a B+ for bad plus terrible.
You fucking toasted me, Shiv.
This scene is masterful too. So this one comes a few episodes later as a result of the cruise scandal and Tom's performance in court. And Tom and Shiv are sitting on the beach and all the sadness, betrayal, and anger that he's feeling towards her have come bubbling to the surface. Their relationship was never exactly on solid ground, and it's been tested numerous times in its short life, but it's become overwhelmingly clear that whatever love he thought was there either isn't, or to Shiv it will only ever come up second or third behind her father, the business, or whatever vague aspiration or validation she's looking for. It's interesting the way Tom brings it up too. He's direct, but he doesn't go fully for it. He has to say things out of the side of his mouth. He looks down. He can't make eye contact, and in the beginning he uses words like toasted and fried to keep a level of distance from the gravity and the severity of the thing he's both saying and accusing her of.
Tom, I have to be an honest broker. To save you, I can't be seen to be acting in self-interest.
And Shiv goes right into corporate self-defense mode, her standard. There's no consideration for how he's feeling, the fact that he's scared of a future in jail, or that the situation just sucks. It's immediately, how can I explain this away, advocate for myself, or reposition it so it's fine? So, instead of engaging with what he's actually asking for, she says,
I love you.
Uh-huh. Great. Thanks.
in an attempt to smooth things over. It's not mean or cruel or anything like that from Shiv, it's just a bit tone deaf, and his reaction of blowing her off, while you could say is a bit childish, it's consistent with the fact that her words are falling on deaf ears. His whole demeanor stays in this childish state too, and you can tell that they aren't really listening to each other. It's such a good portrayal of a couple who isn't arguing, but they feel themselves slowly moving towards one. Shiv's eyes, so she says the thing she thinks he wants to hear, and then they flick up to see if it landed correctly. There's this brief moment of hope in them. She wants to break through to him, you can tell, but we don't know if what she said is true or if it's just another angle in order to kind of win this interaction. But then, the first time he makes eye contact and looks at her is when he says what he's wanted to this whole time. He was screwed over, he was insulted, he was emasculated and given basically no choice. Either pick between a future with the woman you love in a way that destroys you, or lose her completely. It's a lose-lose. And even though he has to keep throwing rocks to be able to get through it, he says it out loud and makes her sit with the fact that he's right. Shiv does her classic scoff where she searches in her head for a way to retort, but again, it's that defense mode. Whether or not he's right, kind of irrelevant at this point. She's thinking about how to navigate this conversation, not how to hear her husband. There's not really accountability, and it's kind of insulting to say,
It was just an idea.
because then you're both shitty for suggesting it on the night, and she's a coward for not owning it. It doesn't undo the hurt that was done, and it doesn't matter if it was just an idea. That's just an attempt to absolve herself of responsibility. This next bit is brutal. He can't even look at her, he can't face it, but I think he finally brings up the will to say the words that he's been wanting to.
If I think about it, I think a lot of the time I'm really pretty unhappy.
I've been there, I know this feeling. It's that overwhelming feeling where you have to say it, but you also know the reality of what it means once it's coming out of your mouth. And then, of course, because she confronts him, he backpedals and says,
I don't know.
because there's nowhere for those feelings to go. And what's the outcome of voicing them? Break up? Continue to do what you're doing and just be unhappy? Sure, it's helpful to say things out loud, but you can also recognize there's a hopelessness to them too, and McFadden's face really shows that feeling. And I think you can interpret Shiv's reaction in a number of ways, but I see her final line being about as sincere as she's capable of.
I'm sorry, Tom. I'll talk to Logan.
No.
She's sorry, but she also recognizes there's not much good that sorry does on its own. She knows that she hurt him. She knows it's her fault. But she also isn't capable of sorry because no one in her life has ever apologized, meant it, and openly been vulnerable without angling for something else. It's easier to just perform a service, get even, do the right thing, and make the other person happy, because then their sadness will go away. That's her brain's idea of fixing the situation. I can't do anything meaningful in the grand scheme of our relationship, but I can maybe help him not go to prison, then he'll be happy again, or at least I won't be the villain in this interaction. I think one of the worst parts of hurting someone is the fact that they get to feel bad for as long as they want to. You lose control over your actions once they impact someone else, and then you have to sit with the discomfort that comes with knowing someone else is hurting because of you. In a way, it kind of feels like they have a form of control over you, and that's the worst thing for these kind of people. And so they respond to that by either doing what they can to remove the imbalance, get even, or they have to just simply pretend it's not there. So Shiv does both of these throughout the rest of their relationship, and Tom also ignores in his own way as well. But I think as things progress, they both kind of lean more on the idea of just ignoring it because it's usually the more efficient option. And then, in an act of defiance, courage, and regaining some semblance of agency over his own life, Tom does an awesome thing where he eats Logan's chicken off his plate. It's badass, it's weird, and it definitely earned Tom some strange street cred in Logan's mind. I don't think this is some kind of big power play by Tom to mastermind and show Logan not to send him to jail. I think that's kind of too cookie cutter, and it's a bit wishful thinking. I think it's really just a simple act of defiance. He's, a man in a bad spot. I want this, I'm taking it. And when a man has nothing to lose, priorities and fears like not pissing off the man in charge go out the window. I think it's Tom's equivalent of both a triumphant roar and a cry for help. And throughout it all, again, McFadden is perfect.
I wonder if we shouldn't clear the air.
Yeah? Sure.
The conversation on the beach acts as a nice foil and precursor to this conversation. Already, you can feel there's a different energy. Season 4, Tom is exhausted. He's fed up. And at this point, he is now fully comfortable with his role in this world. He doesn't kid himself, and he's been through too much to be this nervous, fidgeting boy that tells his wife he's not happy throwing rocks to the ocean. He starts with direct eye contact. He has a sure voice, and he doesn't ask her, but he tells her he's going to clear the air.
What the fuck? Yeah. What the actual fuck?
Shiv's same tactics, her scoffing, her obfuscating, her trying to avoid it, don't really work in the same way because it's not the same Tom. He's not as nervous. Sure, Shiv has her own frustrations. She's probably sick of Tom's victim mentality. She's pissed that he sucked up to her dad, and she's probably so angry that her last months with her dad alive were taken from her by him. But that pales in comparison, in this moment, to the confident rage that Tom has been brewing for 2 seasons. I think this is, if not the best, one of the best scenes in the show. I honestly won't do it justice talking about it in chopped up bits. Go watch it, and please watch all the micro moments in the show that lead up to this moment. But I think there's some really interesting things just to notice already, like references to Tom being tired all season, and then seeing the bags under his eyes in this moment. While everyone else has been mourning Logan's death and sulking and worrying, Tom has been off screen, getting after it. I don't think he has the luxury of being sad because daddy's dead, oh no. He has to now grind harder than ever, scrap and fight for his spot, which perfectly echoes what Logan said.
Life's not nice on horseback. It's a number on a piece of paper. It's a fight for a knife in the mud.
But just because we don't see it doesn't mean it's not all happening. He's also on his own now. There's this freedom that comes with being hurt because it means that someone can't hurt you again or hurt you anymore. In the beach scene, you can tell he has a hesitancy to engage with certain emotions because of what might be behind the curtain. What might the consequences be of voicing these thoughts? But now, the curtain's been pulled back. He knows what's back there, and sure, it hurts. They aren't together anymore, or at least their relationship is holding on by threads. But he doesn't have to be scared of what might happen. He doesn't have to be scared of the darkness that might be there.
My dad was dying. What was I supposed to say?
Perhaps no?
I didn't want to hurt your feelings.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for that. Yeah, you really kept me safe while you ran off to fuck the phone book.
Oh, fuck off. You're a hick.
And then,
Conservative
then
hick.
you hit it because you were so scared of how fucking awful you are.
So they yell at each other, but it feels incredibly authentic. Neither one is really responding to what the other one says because they're in too deep. They're just getting their ammunition that they have off their chests. There is a moment where Tom does push back on Shiv, saying that he was only with her for power. He actually engages with her argument, whether it was legitimate or just an attempt to deride him.
You were only with me to get to power. Well, you got it now, Tom. You've got it.
I'm with you because I love you!
Bullshit! You're fucking me for my DNA. You were fucking me for a fucking ladder because your whole family is striving and parochial.
That's not a fair characterization.
Oh,
It's not...
no? Well, your mom loves me more than she loves you because she's cracked.
But because Tom shows weakness in this moment, even for a second, Shiv latches onto that and then uses it to insult him further. So, as a result, Tom closes up again and he goes back to his pointed, direct criticism.
We're going to see me get sent to fucking prison, Shiv! And then you fob me off with that fucking undrinkable wine, and you won't have my baby because you never even thought, honestly, you'd be with me more than like 4 fucking years.
Every line, every zoom, every delivery is perfect. But the reason I think this one feels different is all of Shiv's big blows, when she really is angry, feel like they kind of bounce off because she can't hurt Tom in a legitimate way anymore, more than she already has. Shiv might hurl insults that sound worse.
Oh, fuck off. You're a hick.
And then,
Conservative
and then,
hick. You offered to go to jail, Tom. You offered because you're servile. You're servile. You're pathetic. You're pathetic. You're a masochist and you can't even take it. I don't like you. I don't even care about you.
But Tom's, I think, cut deeper. Tom's feel like they really get at who Shiv is and what she lacks.
capable of thinking about anybody other than yourself because your sense of who you are, Shiv, is that fucking thin.
Oh, yeah? You read that in a book, Tom?
You're too fucking transparent to find in a book. I think you are incapable of love. And I think you are maybe not a good person to have children. It's not my fault that you didn't get his approval. I have given you endless approval, and it doesn't fill you up because you're broken.
She'll never see anybody as anything more than a stepping stone towards her own actualization. She'll never be happy in a relationship, and she'll never get her father's approval. It's brutal, it hurts, but it also feels cathartic to have Tom finally say it.
Glad we cleared the air, huh? Feel good now?
She finishes the argument with her classic Shiv deflection of using sarcasm, passive aggression, and snarkiness to try to win out. She has to say the last thing, but it feels hollow. I don't think anybody won this interaction, but I think it feels like Tom gets to walk out of it at least with some dignity. If the first scene was showed that Tom at his most inept, the beach scene shows him at his most vulnerable. This scene shows him where he's really come into his own.
How was your sea bass? Those cod cheeks were a worthy opponent.
No, it was fine.
All right, so finally we get to one of the last scenes in the whole show. And even though we've seen Tom evolve a ton throughout, we get to see Tom right back in Tom mode. Because he's with somebody that has more power than him, he's fidgeting, he's making small talk, he's trying to impress, but he's also doing that thing where he's trying to appear cool and laid back while doing it. He has his radar still, and he knows that this is the guy he has to impress. And so far, his method of being inoffensive, non-threatening, and disarming has served him well through other business endeavors, but it hasn't quite worked with Matsson the same way. Mattson is at ease. He controls the room, the conversation, and the future of the company. He's a shark, but I also think he recognizes Tom for what he is and sees the value of him as a puppet. Mattson's demeanor gives off the vibe that because he recognizes his power, he's bored of the politics and playing the game. I don't think it's a ploy or a tactic. I think it's really just the only way he wants to conduct business, because he doesn't have to act any other way. Doesn't mean he isn't sharp, he's just not gonna put on a performance the same way Tom is.
How do you feel about soft pitching me on Tom?
Oh,
You know, the main slide.
on me as in my value to keep me? Sure, yeah. Yeah, I can sing for my supper. So yeah, as a manager, I think, I'm simple. I squeeze the costs and juice the revenue. Follow the boss. I digest strategy and implement. Like for, cruises, for example, is shit gobbling and firefighting.
Yum, 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 yum.
Yes, and ATN is money. I'm cutting heads and harvesting eyeballs. It's pretty simple, really. I give the customer what he wants. I don't think it's my place to offer dietary advice. If they want red meat and boiling tar, then bon appetito.
Right. And on a hang level, who would you say you are?
Who am I? That's a good one. I'm a grinder. I grind because I worry. I worry all night about everything, all the threats to me and to my my division of my physical body, and I have an excess of vigilance, I think, and I have a very, very high tolerance for pain and physical discomfort.
Tom's description of himself, in my opinion, is staggering. It's so true and authentic and sincere, and it feels like how a person would really talk about themselves, but only when they truly know who they are, while still trying to sound humble or unassuming. He doesn't debase or humiliate himself, but he also isn't trying to posture that he's some powerful figure or guy who's going to change the game, the same way Kendall might say he has a big idea and try to win the room over. Whether or not this is the right play is up for debate, but it's true to him, and it's the most capable he's able to be. It's not entirely authentic though, because Tom does play it up a bit by doing the classic corporate babble. Things like chopping heads and gobbling shit isn't how real people talk. It's CEO speak, it's that C-suite garbage, but it's what he thinks Mattson wants to hear. But there's a moment in here where things switch, where Tom realizes that he isn't fighting for his job, he's fighting for the job.
And then I was thinking, well, if I can have fucking anyone in the world, why don't I get the guy who put the baby inside her instead of the baby lady?
You see it hit him all at once, and the facial expression work by McFadden is genius. It's not over the top, it's not melodramatic, it's real. It's that, holy shit, wait, are you saying what I think you're saying? Oh my God, okay, play it cool. Oh my God, okay. Before confidently stating that he can definitely do it, even if you can still feel a hint of that holy shit feeling come through. Mattson doesn't really care. I think his mind is seemingly made up already, but the final test, him mentioning Shiv, really seals the deal.
With Shiv, there's also, she's somewhat, we're a bit clickety-clickly, if you know what I'm saying.
Right, like
A little bit, I want to fuck her.
He literally mentions to his face that he wants to fuck his wife, which is insulting by any stretch, but it's also kind of just cruel and tasteless. And yet, Tom recognizes the hurt, and still it kind of slides off like everything else. He's basically a shell at this point, and he's so used to that sort of embarrassment, guilt, and shame that this is par for the course. He may have been rattled, but he doesn't let the mask slip, and because of that, Mattson knows this is his guy. They do the dance, they say the words, and they do the bro speak, but it's clear what the dynamic is. Mattson's the guy, and Tom is the one who will take the flak and do the dirty work. But he won. He did it. So much has been said about Tom's rise to power, his relationship with Logan, his key decisions, the identifying moments that prove he was the best or most likely choice for CEO. But I don't think that gives Succession enough credit. It doesn't feel predestined to me, and I don't think it's the kind of show where you can or should look back and go, oh, here, here, and here are the moments where Tom knew he was going to be CEO, or Logan knew that this was the guy he was going to pick in the end, because, I don't know, there is no, this was the moment Walter White became Heisenberg. Tom did just enough. He got lucky where he needed to. He scrapped when he could, and he betrayed the right people at the right time. Feels like the kind of person who would win out because he deserves it, but also because life isn't fair. He's bullshit. He's an empty suit. He's nothing. He's only there because he got shipped to marry him, and then 1,000 other things after that. And yet, none of it really matters, because at the end, what is the point of any of it? What does any of it mean? At this point, he's in too deep to have any kind of come to Jesus moment. He's made the sacrifices he had to, he turned off that voice in his head telling him not to, and he's gonna reap the benefits because of it. I don't think it's a happy ending for Tom, but I also don't think it's a tragic one. It's just that the world keeps on ticking. I think that makes Succession feel so human and organic and alive to me. This big company, even without Logan, just keeps on going, even when the cameras turn off. Tom, at the end of this dinner, will go home, and I think he'll be exhausted, but proud, and now he's gonna have 100 other issues he has to face that will probably be the death of him, the same way they were for Logan. Right now, these are just the people involved in a world that none of us will ever know. I think with Succession, there is no finish line. With Tom, I don't think it's really about winning, but he gets about as close to winning, especially in the eyes of someone like Kendall, as we can possibly imagine. So I've spoken about Tom on a scene-by-scene basis, but I kind of want to give a more holistic view to end things. Tom was my favorite character while I watched Succession, and even though Kendall is the main character and we spend the most time in his head, I always felt the most connected to Tom. And I don't really know exactly why that was, but there was just something intensely relatable about him that no other characters felt in the same way. Even Greg, who was meant to be the audience stand-in, Tom felt more like that to me than anybody else. I saw some of the best parts of myself in Tom, the grit, the grind, the desire to move up the ladder, the way he puts people at ease, or at least tries to. He feels like a nice guy. That's how you describe him. But then I also saw some of the worst parts of myself in him, the self-effacing, maybe the lack of confidence, the lack of self-identity, basing who you are off of your career or other people or your relationships and not really knowing who you are outside of those things. Whenever my friend would ask me, who's your favorite character, I would always find myself saying Tom. I don't know if that was the performance that McFadden was giving, the situations that he found himself in, or the specific decisions that he made. But it felt like in a game of Survivor, let's say, we would have the entire cast and it would make sense why someone like Tom would win. Unassuming, tactical, smart, and willing to just soak up all the issues that other people have to open their mouth for. Throughout Succession, one of the main themes that came up with me is if these people just stopped talking, just stopped feeling the need to voice their opinion or make everybody know how they feel, you probably would have more success. And I think Tom's ability to move in silence and do the things that need to be done without bringing a ton of attention to it were really impressive. He would backstab, he would betray, and he would get called out for it. But throughout it all, he kept his head down and he sort of just knew what he had to do. I loved his performance. I loved McFadden bringing him to life, and I love the writers for making him the way they are. I think the more that I've spent making this video, the more I've come to appreciate him. Tom was my favorite character in Succession, and I hope there are people out there that love him as much as I do.